give aid to developing nations to alleviate poverty. I'm going to just sit in the back, take notes, so you can ignore me. You guys are focused on the debate with yourselves. Let's start with this team, person one. And
I can start.
sure.
So, hello everyone. Unfortunately, over billions of people around the world are living in extreme poverty right now, and it's considered around 10% of the world population. Additionally, almost a billion of people below the poverty line live with $1.90 per day, and more than half of the world live with difficult family incomes with $2.50 per day. So, an American economist, William Easterly, said, remember, aid cannot achieve the end of poverty. Only homegrown development based on the dynamism of individuals and firms in free markets can do that. So, for this purpose, would you really want to give aid to developing country to alleviate poverty to help them, or would you like to give other possible solution that will really help and not like just some words and blah blah and give money will like if you gave like after like if you want to give debts and other thing. So our team is personally against the fact that rich countries should provide aid to developing countries to reduce poverty, simply because it's not the real and right solution to do. And by way of contrast, it's gonna make even worse for developing countries. Do you know why? In all honesty, like giving aid from rich countries to poor countries to help them, like it's gonna make worse because a few years later, rich countries will ask for repayments and debt. So why doing that? Like why rich country want to give money to help if it's for destroying them right after to hide their personality, give an image, give a fake image to destroy them? Well, let's explore that in this debate. And to get back to the point, our team's opinion is that wealthy nations should not give aid to developing countries, to developing nations to alleviate poverty. Thank you.
Is it on? So you want to be person one on the other side? Yes.
Um, Hello. Imagine a world where countries were all the same, and people could stop migrating because of poverty or disease that could be easily prevented. So this can be only possible with financial aid help from developed nations to developing nations. Uh, In 2019, according to the OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, 152.8 billions of dollars were donated as financial aid support developing developing nations. Without this amount of money, many countries and many people right now probably would be without any possibility to having food on their food for them to eat or at least water for them to for them to drink. So the US, that's the number one in the list for their donators, donated 35 million US dollars on 2019. And for example, in Afghanistan, that was the biggest receiver from the US, received uh, almost more than $7 million, and from those $7 million, 73%, that's equal to 5 million, were allocated to the military support so they can have peace on their countries and try to stop civil wars and attacks from other nations, and so people could live not only in like next to bombs and tanks coming in every time. They can have like food in their table, and also they can drink water every day. But in the other hand, Ethiopia, that's also one of the countries that received financial aid, almost $2 million was only to provide food for almost one fifth of the population. So imagine stopping financial aid would literally like stop, like literally make one fifth of Ethiopian population without food for every day. So our team is in favor of financial aid from healthy nations to developing countries. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? We'll do a question and answer first before we continue. I'll give you guys a minute to ask questions to this team. You can ask a question of the whole team or an individual or about something that's specifically stated, so you can write down notes. But please make it questions so they can respond. Ready?
Well, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Joel, you said that the most of the aid goes to the military, so they won't, so there's no civil wars and that's right.
Yeah.
Is it most of the aid goes to the military? Then there should be probably a chance that the dictators could just have a military power and therefore oppressing the low income individuals and groups of people. So yeah, the question is, why would people suffering and starving, but people put money in military, while other people are living extra poverty, or is that what it is?
Because everything is important, not only the food but also the military. Because how do you expect like a country like Afghanistan that is always in wars, it's always like having like problems with other countries and in fights to expect people to eat like calmly in their houses, where like anytime, any moment can explode a bomb in their house while they're like sleeping or something like this. So everything is important.
But food will bomb
Like I don't know, but Afghanistan is like a country where they have a lot of issues in their military and fights between other countries, like in their regions. So the U.S. there's a big military base from the U.S. in Afghanistan that helped them with this. If not, without this help from the U.S. and financial aid from the U.S., probably Afghanistan wouldn't exist today anymore. That's why they need also military financial aid to help the population to like stop living in terrible conditions, like war conditions.
Should we turn over to the other team? Maybe ask a question to them?
Oh, so yeah. You said that there are other ways that you could help the developing countries. Is it going to be as fast as giving aid?
It can be like
How?
like giving like it's not like an explanation. Like giving money is not gonna help like just giving money and that's it. Like it can like help like that. Like developing country has to be like aid but by different solutions and not like only giving money and that's it. Like I give you money and you can do like whatever you want, but I give you money.
But like giving target aid is also kind of aid because it's still giving money, but like as a target. But
Yes,
it's
but like it's gonna be better that if you give money, but you actually help them and like stay with them to help them, like that, and not just like literally give money like to poor country and like they don't even know why they're giving like
yeah, but that's still giving aid. That's not
Yeah, but that's not working. What? That's not working. It's not. It's not a real resolution. It's not working. And it's not only about how fast the change will be, but instead how effective the change will be.
Yeah, but also for the extreme poverty condition, it is like, for example, like my compañeras, they're trader and now gonna work for extreme poverty. They don't even have clean water, they don't even have electricity, they don't even have food. They need to have like basic things like financial aid. Like, yeah.
But now it's not working.
According to our research, it's working. But it's not.
It's not working for me for my situation. So let's see for this.
We continue.
So financial aid leads to corrupt governments. The United States, being one of the most powerful countries, gives financial aid to Afghanistan, and is still one of the worst places to live in terms of poverty and violence, and especially for women. So the majority of Afghan women suffer from domestic abuse, violence, discrimination, and inequality. Imagine living in their position and living with the fear of not being able to support your own family in economic terms. And the government is doing nothing to support these families. Even they're receiving a big amount of financial aid, not only from the United States, but also from Germany and the European Union. Financial aid is also harming children's lives. So in rich countries, rich children watch TV, while in Biafra, children starve to death. The Nigeria government blocked the financial aid from Biafra citizens. This caused a crisis, causing 10,000 of people getting murdered. Mothers had to offer their babies to go into war. Children were abandoned and starved to death. The following quote was by the parliament bodies. It was estimated that nearly 6,000 Biafrans were dying daily, most of them starving children. If wealthy countries keep supporting developed countries in economic terms, you will keep supporting child malnutrition and domestic abuse. So financial aid is not alleviating poverty, it's instead making it worse. Thank you.
I agree to some points that Valentina made, but I want to bring up another point, which is children. And about 19,000 children die every day. Like at this moment, 19,000 children died due to diarrhea and malaria, which are like simple diseases for us. You can just go to a health center, get pills for it, but they died. Most of these children were under 5. Imagine you have a sibling that's under 5. Like, imagine one day you wake up and that person is not there. How would you feel? Probably would feel sad. That's every day in Africa or African countries. More than 6 million children died under before reaching the age of 15. Now we are all like 17 and above, so we would die 2 years ago. And imagine how that would feel. So I want to bring up two stories. One is a 11-year-old boy, Hamisi, who should be like in 10th grade or ninth grade for us. But he has to wake up every day by his dad to go mining. And imagine how that would be so hard for him, for an 11-year-old boy, because mining is one of the hardest jobs in the world. And he would make 6 cents per day and a maximum of $24 to $30 per month or even a year. Now, for us, Bernoulli's challenge was a hard thing, and we just skipped it. But this guy has to go and mine every day. And over time, the dust from those caves and underground tunnels, the dust settled in his lung, and they made him to be in a high risk now for COVID.
Another story is Fatima, a 12-year-old girl who has to find food in trash. And that would cause the diarrhea and other diseases that can kill her. But she doesn't only feed herself on those food, she feeds her family on those trash. And they live in a trash place, basically. She died because of diarrhea. Now, for us, living here and eating New World is so simple. But there are people dying there. They don't die in front of us, but we can't just ignore it and say, no, they don't die. Yep, true. Fair trade and microfinance can work too, but we need a quicker action. Imagine you're hungry, like you need food immediately. Would you rather me to give you $20 to go to New World and buy like a combo, or would you like me to like say, oh, okay, let me use this fair trade thing and like earn $1 a day, and after 20 days I give you $20. Like you die in 20 days for not eating food. So we need to take quick action. The problem with Afghanistan is, yep, Afghanistan got a lot of aid from different countries, but that doesn't mean that's enough aid to just recover everything. Afghanistan was burned to dust. It wasn't anything, not even a building. And the problem with war is not because of poverty, it's because of terrorism, which doesn't do anything with poverty. It's just people want to like show that their race and their religion is better. So let me rephrase this. Our group's point is that we should give aid to developing countries. Thank you.
Do we zip on ahead to the person in front of and then we'll do question and answer after that?
So I have a question. Should I rephrase speech on the computer?
Well, sure. Okay. Would you mind? You can just hit the computer and ask the question. I'm happy to do it too if you want. I can do it too if you want.
We're asking questions after me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So over the past 30 years, third world nations have received over $1 trillion in aid. But since then, their economic growth has been experiencing stagnation or stagnation. First and the foremost reason for that is the government corruption. For example, the U.S. government has have charged over $2 billion in money laundering, 3 official government officials and five business leaders in Mozambique. And these $2 billion were stolen over the past years that U.S. Have given to poor countries out of 35 billion. We can clearly see how much is 2 billion out of 35 billion. And this injustice, poor people, innocent people face every day on a daily basis. And this is all caused by the incompetence of the rich countries and their aid program. So instead of throwing money at people, we offer another alternative called a microfinance. Microfinance is a banking service that provides unemployed or low-income individuals or groups of people with small loans to start their businesses. It has been proven by the World Bank that over 500 million people have benefited from the microfinance related operations. We can clearly see that the goals and objectives of Third World Aid Program from first world countries are a complete failure. They not only didn't work, they worsened the internal situation of the countries, creating instability, injustice, and suffering that now innocent people endure. How? By helping dictators and corrupt officials increase their wealth and poor through aid money. So overall, we can say
in conclusion, we can say that rich countries don't care about who gets their money and how they manage it, as long as their international reputation and public opinion stays the same or improves. And I believe that we can make the world a better place by improving living conditions in third world countries, by better managing our resources. Thank you.
Have you ever heard of the Marshall Plan? The Marshall Plan was a U.S. program providing aid to Western Europe after World War II for rebuilding the European economy after the absolute destruction from the war. The Marshall Plan was very successful. The gross national products of Western Europe rose from 15 to 25% during this period. The plan contributed greatly to rapid economic growth of Western European industries. And as you know, Europe is one of the wealthiest areas. In fact, it's the largest trading area in the entire world today. If you recall, we did a thought experiment about 3 weeks ago. We watched a video and we asked ourselves, logically, if we walked past a small body of water and saw a child drowning, we would, of course, save them, even if it meant we had to sacrifice our fancy new shoes. If we said we would do that because the child's life is irreplaceable and the child's life certainly is not, well, can't we take that metaphor and extend it to the idea of giving aid? We know that there are hundreds of millions of people suffering from extreme poverty, in fact, thousands of children dying every day. And so, can we merely walk by and ignore those problems, or should we do our best to help those people? We believe the answer is yes, and that we should give them aid. Going back to some data, according to the World Bank, which is a world financial institution, it provides loans and grants to governments of low and middle income countries for pursuing capital projects like building hospitals, roads, electricity plants, and schools. One example is, for example, one thing that they do is the World Bank is to bring education so that people can have better jobs and access to healthcare. And another thing they do is to give people access to renewable and clean energy. These solutions can lead to inequality. Sorry, I'm a bit confused by what you wrote here. In fact, the solutions that the World Bank have work well. This graph represents, in the recent 2 decades, progress of the International Development Association. I can't show you the graph very easily, but it shows that that the poorest countries have made progress in terms of having access to clean water, electricity, secondary education, poverty alleviation, cooking fuel, and child mortality. Child mortality has actually gone down. Okay, almost done there. This graph represents, using data, the recent 2 decades of progress. Rates of poverty, rates of access to basic drinking water, sanitation, and lower secondary school education has all improved. As this graph shows, increasing access to aid for developing countries can decrease basic problems that affect developing countries. As you can see then, aid is worth the money. Therefore, we believe that rich countries should continue to alleviate poverty through giving aid to developing countries. Should we go ahead for questions? I'll just open it up. Anybody can ask a question. If you want to use this maybe time to plan attacking, but also questioning, I'll give you a few minutes to do that.
the picture you can see that the studies are from Nigeria, and some of them, the boys are starting to that. So my question is, you said that their financial aid is also going to military support, but why are you supporting military if you see that there is also malnutrition?
Yeah, but
The financial aid is not working.
Yeah,
but this is 1960.
1968 this picture was taken.
Yeah, but it's still happening.
Yeah, but the rate has gone down.
Yeah, it's going down, but it's too slow.
Yeah,
but it's still
Like,
holding.
no, but you said that your financial aid is actually being fast impact, but it's not.
Because like I agree with you, like financial aid it's like helping, but not like fast as they can be. And like what are you doing for the payments in that? Because those rich country after like 10 years old, they asking like after I guess I give you money now, like pay me back or give me that or give me your country and we pay like the government.
The thing is,
So the
aid is not that.
they just not borrowing. Aid is like donation, something like that. They don't have the right to act on that.
You need also to think about your own country, like the wealthy countries' economics. Where did the money come from like to the donations? So in order to donate that amount of money, you need to have more taxpayers paying for that tax. If the taxpayers are suffering under pain, you need to help your own taxpayers, your own citizens, your own country dwellers, not only like African people. Can you actually see them suffering that or that or that? You can actually see your people suffering under pain, under poverty, but you are not helping them. Instead, you are helping it internationally.
But not both.
That doesn't make
We
sense.
can help both because we didn't say we're not providing help for our own citizens. And also if the wealthy country can give donation, that means they have the ability to help their own people. That's called developed country. If you're saying like there's still a lot of poverty inside your own country, that's not developed
The
country.
money doesn't come from frame. So in
Yeah,
order to
so people can vote. That's like
So what if people vote for like no alleviating poverty by donation? You just stop that. That doesn't fit your opinion right there.
Look, this is the planet that we all share.
yeah.
So if some people die in Africa, what's the difference with like someone dying in my country?
It's the
We
same
all
thing, it's all
human.
people, it's all people.
We have
Yeah,
rights.
please don't change the concept I just talked about. I just talked about when you are seeing the people directly standing in front of you dying, you should help them first. You should donate them first, not instead of like donating
But people in my
internationally.
country,
But
they
the
don't have.
taxpayers, you didn't even see them. Like they're suffering
But
under
do you have
pain.
any source to support your ideas? Like we can say there's people dying in Lasalle, but like yeah.
People, they don't die in our country. Like, we don't see them die because they're wealthy.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, they're not dying.
But we're also providing aid for them. It's not only for international aid. We're on this topic is about international aid. We're not saying that providing international aid, we're not providing our help like to our own citizens.
Yes, like you just say that here, like we don't see like people like dying.
Yeah, because of like age. Like, go in Lebanon, you see like 10,000,
in
like
Lebanon,
100-year-old.
It's like a village. Go to Geneva and see.
Yeah, they're all old.
Yeah, but like even for the homeless people, Swiss government provides home for them. This is their decision, like, and also they provide food, they provide water, they provide like the necessity needs. But saying poverty, we're talking about extreme poverty in Africa. The people they don't even have food. The kids are dying every day because of some small disease. That's what we need to help. And I think as a citizen of the world, like we have the right, we have the responsibility to have like bring everyone on the table and share the resources.
But they don't die because of the lack of money, they die because of the poor management of the money. Over the past, as I said, over the past 30 days, export Chilean US dollars, but as you can see, it's not efficient. The most of the money are just going to the not the poor people, but to the corrupt officials to gain their power and wealth.
I gotta get you guys out there as we go into the concluding arguments. Yeah, I think it's 37 and everything.
So our group insists that wealthy countries should not provide aid to the poor countries. So definitely what we were showing is that the truth is donations are not alleviating the poor's life, but in reverse, it is a way to show their richness power and gain positive fame from other countries. You should always admit that most of the money are exploited during corruption. Please do not be surprised if the government do so, because the government people are also poor, and if you are in those conditions, you might do the same thing, even though you know it's not humanitarian. So please don't doubt that this will happen and the existence of weakness of humankind is the truth. Never inspire yourself when you think you have contributed to your ideal world, because the world doesn't work in that way. And your donation saying that we are just giving money to the people or to the government directly is not actually showing your responsibility. To donate without accountability, which means that you cannot even supervise them during managing the money. So donations, we claim, is encouraging, facilitating, or even promoting the corruptions. That's not what we want. So I still want to ask, does it ever get caught on a moral high ground? There is a bunch of ways for people to alleviate their own life in the poor countries. Please just focus on your own people. They are suffering under the same poverty, same pain, except the level is not that same. So please stop daydreaming, which only satisfies yourself, even though you think you are doing the right thing. But we still claim that donations did not help. And also about the Marshall Plan, it is actually not really helping the condition to be better. The world condition later go to the Cold War. Do you ever think Cold War is a much better condition than World War II? I mean, no, because everyone is under threat of having another World III war. So please stop saying that donation actually help everything. It doesn't. Thank you.
So, to restate our opinion, like the wealthy country and developed country should providing aid for the developed country should provide aid to developing a country. According to our research, aid is helping to alleviate poverty. It's not efficient. We're not saying aid is perfect. We're saying it's helping slowly, but it's better than nothing. And I admit that corruption exists, but doesn't mean we should give up aid and providing help to the poor country. We need to find out like a better solutions, like what Ivana said, like maybe for my attention or through tighter oversight and control of the aid. But this is still like we still need to provide the aid, but like instead we need to like also to see where the aid goes and maybe provide target aid, for example, like educational aid or healthcare aid, just instead of just like giving money to them. And in addition, like if you're saying like fair trade, yeah, like it's helping and like microfinance is helping, but it's not for extreme poverty. Imagine like people who live above like the trash, they don't even have food and house to like place to sleep. They're dying every day because of like the flies are spreading disease or diarrhea, something like for us is nothing. We need to providing them financial aid to let them build a house or providing them basic nutrients they need to have every day. And also, aid is not that efficient, but it's still it's more efficient than most of the ways. Moreover, like from the video we watched last week of the shoes and the kids, I think like people's life are more important than valuable, important shoes that cost like $200. And by saying aid, it's not just like the government. There's also aid from the, like a community or NHS. Like for example, in our school, people just kind of like give up like one JP's rice and then like donate 10 francs to help people. Not just like, no, we're not saying like we're only helping people from other countries, but not our citizens. And also saying that developed countries should provide aid for developing countries. It's like developed country. They're well developed and they have enough ability to both help their own citizens and also the citizens of the world. And to build, like, as a developed country citizens, we have the ability to build a better world system where everyone can sit at a table, where all have a fair share of the resources of the world. Because the rich people, if they're not providing help to the poor people, the rich will only get richer and poor will only get poorer. It's the same thing with a country. Yeah, so our opinion is like we should provide, a developed country should provide aid for developing country to alleviate poverty. Thank you.
Well done. Maybe we can ask Ray to speak on Monday and follow up with a few more questions. Thanks for your work on that, guys. Some interesting ideas. I don't know what the answer is, but maybe one day